the whole world, right, can see the atrocities that the military is committing, right? Everything is caught on camera, everything is going over Facebook, Twitter, right? But then they feel that nobody's acting on it. They feel that the United Nations, for example, is, releasing statement after statement condemning the military, but then they're not really, at least to them, right? What they feel is that the United Nations is just all talk and no action, right? So they're just hoping that somebody, outside would see this and then do something about it, do something fruitful about it.
In the beginning of February, Joe Biden, he had a press conference where he talked about how, the Burmese military needs to give back the power, and he was condemning the violence, condemning the arrests. And then a little less than 2 months later, we see, these protests happen on March 27, civilians being killed. And so I can definitely understand that sentiment that a lot of people feel from the international community, being that there's so much talk but no action. What are some specifics? And M2, you can chime in as well, but what are some specifics that the Burmese people are hoping that the international community responds with?
Oh, so especially the Burmese people, Myanmar people, hope that the international community must putting pressure on the junta, the military coup. We need all the international community, not only the US and UK. They also have, the business with the Southeast Asian, China, the Vietnam and things like that. So much, all the international community need to, destroy junta economy. That is very important to, to shut down the military coup. And then another one is to deny the junta international support. So many people keep, stop supporting the military agenda. For example, like March 27, so kind of the Russia, China, India, and other, the Asian country, about 10 countries, they are, involving in these event, March 27 event. So we have to stop these international to support the military junta. And then the other one is to deny the junta ability to run the functioning government, which is also important, not only the domestic, but also the international as well. Like, in United States, they have the 3 different, the embassy location. In London, it just happened, the military coup seized the embassy in London. So then that is another issue. So another one, the international community need to deny the junta the ability to spread the propaganda. So you might probably know the military coup just hire a lobby from the Canada. And then they also let the lobby guy just sent out the CNN reporter just a couple of days ago. So that we need to stop that these kind of the propaganda. And then international community also need to isolate the senior general Min Aung Hlaing within the military. So some, like I mentioned earlier before, some countries are stay involved in the military activity. And then another one, immediately and unconditionally release to those all detained because of the military coup. Because like we mentioned earlier before, the military coup arrested the Aung San Suu Kyi and the president women, right? So they need to international community need to pressure the military coup immediately and the unconditionally release all those detained. And then also need to pressure the military that immediately restore all forms of the communication, including the access to the internet, and restore the free travel, and then return the power to all members of the civilians.
The Burmese people hope that the international community can put more pressure on Min Aung Hlaing and the military officers in power. But what does that pressure look like?
In Myanmar, the military has their business, hundreds of thousands of the business owned by the military. So they use the people money to run their business for their profit, for their family. So that's the thing. That's why the international community need to put in the pressure on the junta, not to support with the military-related company.
The military is still able to function because there are a lot of countries that are on their side. For example, China, for example, Russia, and in Southeast Asia, we know for sure that there are some companies in Singapore, Vietnam, the list goes on, that they know that if they are working together with the military, they can continue to profit. So they're continue to do that. So as long as they're doing that, the military is going to be able to sustain itself, and it's going to be difficult. So we have to think of other ways that the international community can pressure these countries. And one of those ways is that basically there's something called the global arms embargo. So there are some countries smaller countries like Singapore and Belarus, for example, that are selling arms to the Burmese military. So we're hoping that countries like the United States and the United Kingdom can pressure those smaller countries to not sell arms to Burma, to the Burmese military. And that way it might make a difference. It might be hard for them to pressure a bigger country like China, but it might be feasible to pressure smaller countries, because that's more realistic in our opinion. And the people are also hoping that maybe they could support the armed ethnic groups. So the armed ethnic groups have been around for 70 years, since Burma's independence, because the ethnic groups, they don't really want to live under the Burmese rule. So they have always wanted their own country in the past, or at least they want their own autonomous state where they're part of the country, but they still get to decide their own affairs, right? So they have those armed groups that are protecting the civilians from the atrocities committed by the Burmese military. So these ethnic groups already have armies, but of course they're not supported by China. They're not supported by other international groups. So they need the funding, they need the technology support in order to go head to head with the Burmese military. So we're hoping that even if the United States, right, doesn't want to send their troops, because that's a whole other issue, right? Because we don't want another Vietnam, we don't want another Iraq, right? So totally understandable, but they can, I believe that they can spare some of their funding, that they're going to give to Burma anyways, and then channel that to the ethnic groups, and that way they have the resources to fight back the Burmese military.
Hey, thanks so much for watching a short segment of Listen to Understand. To watch more videos like this, click one of the 2 thumbnails below.